Hey, Joe Gilder here from HomeStudioCorner.com, talking Studio One and the merge events versus the bounce feature in Studio One. When does it make sense to use one over the other? First of all, let me show you where they are. If you want to, let's say we've got this piece of audio. This is actually a session for my weekly podcast that I do, and this is the new intro music. And this is basically, I have it edited up to kind of the right spot. And you could ignore this track. Let's hide that for a second. Whoops. Let's just look at the bottom track. The top one is the old intro music. This is the new one, okay? So I've got it set up. I did some scoping, basically editing the intro down to shorten it. And then I've got some crossfades here to bring it down in volume without having to use automation. So now that's where I start talking over the music. As you can see up here, I started talking right there. So what if I want to, every episode I do a little bit different intro, and so I want to move this around? Well, I can just select it all and move it, right? But if I accidentally one time select one and move it, now I've broken my crossfade and everything, the world ends, right? So it'd be nice if I could just consolidate these, but it'd also be nice to be able to go back and change the edit points if I need to. So how do we do that? Well, the way that I do it is I will do my edits and get it like I want. And then what I'll do is come over here under layers and I'll duplicate the layer. So just make a complete copy of this. And then I'll come over here to rename layer and I'll call this something like music edits. Okay, so when I'm looking at my list of layers, I know the edits are here, and then I'll come back to the original and I'll maybe name that consolidated, and then I'll consolidate these audio files. Now there's a couple ways to do that. A really quick way is to use the merge feature. If you type in merge in the search bar, you'll see merge events is the letter G. And what this does is it doesn't really combine them into a new audio file. It just kind of merges the pieces that you see before you so you can move them around. So if I press G, you see it just does this, right? It kind of looks funny and it has this weird lock at the bottom, right? But it's a great way to quickly merge them together, so now I can drag them around, right? And you can still come in and do some edits as if it's one new piece of audio. The problem with that is, well, it can work okay, but you don't have fades, which is weird to me. You don't have the ability to change the fade, so you'd have to come back. And I don't know of an easy way to unmerge them, right? They're merged, and if I hit merge again, it just keeps merging, right? I don't know how to unmerge them. So it's it's fairly permanent. Now, we can always go back to our playlist over here and get the unmerged version, which is fine, but even this merge doesn't do a lot for me unless it sounds exactly like I want it to sound and I don't want to change anything, which may not always be the case. Maybe it is. Maybe you don't want it to change ever. Maybe it's a piece of a loop and you've got it set up with the right end pieces. Everything works fine. You just want it to look smooth like this so you can drag it. If this is a loop, I can press D and get it going like this, and now we've got this loop going, right? But that's not what we're looking at here, okay? Well, that's where merge would be helpful, okay? It's right there. Now, the other option is to do what's called bouncing. That comes from the Pro Tools world, I think. They didn't invent the word, but where you basically bounce this to its own event. Now that has two benefits. One, it creates a new piece of audio, and it becomes a new piece of audio with all the features of a piece of audio, such as being able to fade things in and out and all that. So if I want to change the fades, that's the main thing I'd like to have access to if I'm going to bounce something down. So the way to do that is you select it as normal, but then you come up here and you go find bounce. Now you've got two options, bounce to selection or bounce to track, Command B or Command Option B. And usually if you want to keep it in the same spot, you can just hit Command B, and it literally, just like that, it actually rendered this to a new piece of audio. Okay, there's a new piece of audio created that is now right there. And if you want to bounce it to a new track so you can maybe disable this one, that's also an option. Let me try that again. There it goes. Okay, I did way too many. It did everything. So anyway, then that will give them on their own track. I usually bounce them in place just by hitting Command B, and boom, we've got a new piece of audio. This actually, just so you know, this actually creates a 32-bit audio file. So if you're doing this to consolidate to send them to someone else and they don't have the ability to put 32-bit files in their system, you'll need to do the normal come up here and export stems feature. I know it's a little annoying, but that's the way it is. I found that out the hard way. So that's what happens. And now look, this is a piece of audio, and it has all the functions of a piece of audio that I need. And I can always get back to the original one. Okay, I did it the wrong way. See, I did it the wrong way. But I can come undo, boom, 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 and I'm back there. And then I can go to the consolidated one and unmerge that or whatever. You get the idea. So I've royally messed up this session, but it's fine. I've already exported this podcast. So hopefully that gives you an idea of the differences between them. The other big thing with bouncing is that it also, if I understand it correctly, it will apply any plugins you have on the track to the bounce. Okay, I think that's true. You'll have to check me on that. Test it yourself. It's really easy to test. Just put some crazy settings, bounce it, turn the settings off, and see if you still hear them. But I think that's also a feature of the bounce. I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. But that's the difference between merge and bounce. There you go.